drive communications towards to help both on the field side and the dealer side understand the benefits, the changes, et cetera, for the new library. So kind of run a show is I'll turn it over to Jim in a minute. He'll walk us through it. I think probably go ahead and ask questions. Maybe, I don't know if you want to hold them or if you want to just go ahead and fire questions away as he goes. I think it's a small enough group that we can probably do that.
Anytime.
And then we'll have some open discussion. And again, what I would love to drive to at the end is, you know, 3 is kind of my magic number for things. I think any more than 3 is too much, and any less, then you're probably not giving enough detail. But if we could kind of find the 3 main things that we need to focus on for rollout to the field and to dealers, that would make this, you know, the best possible rollout. That would be much appreciated from each of your opinions. So we'll go ahead and let Jim drive the WebEx, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Andy. So yeah, my name is Jim McGavin, and I've been working on this library for a while now. And we're at the point where it's functionally, it's pretty much almost there. It's like 99%. We are still spending a lot of time trying to get the assets tagged appropriately. So as we're going through this, you might see some things that aren't quite right. Please just kind of look past that. If you think it is something bigger than you think I think it is, then feel free to just say something. But just letting you know, it's not going to have everything just the way you want it yet. But we're working towards it. So the first thing I do when I get to this site, it looks a lot like a library, I guess. I can go into my search bar and I can type in something. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Fern brochure. And as I do that, I should get things that are tagged as Fern brochure. So I get the Fern brochure. Fern handbook is labeled here as a brochure, which probably isn't quite right. That's one of the things I was talking about.
Okay.
And so that's what shows up there. If I decide, well, what I really wanted was price list, I can change that right here. Oops, I got to spell it right though. And there I would get the seating price list, which Fern is in. I can also narrow things down by product category, workstations, accessories. This list will probably expand a little bit. There's a couple fields that aren't showing here yet. I'm still working through little glitches to get them to show, but there'll be like product name and space type and things like that. To get back to the home page, I can only just click on this Haworth logo up at the top. And that will take me back to the home page. Yeah, there we go. So the next step down here, we have what we're calling the shortcuts. So these are intended to get you to specific content fairly quickly. I'm going to start off by clicking on the lead time guide and warranty because our #1 download is the lead time guide. So when I click on there, it is going to open up a special page that has all the lead time information along with like the mock-up lead time, the Haworth collection lead time. If I go down to the bottom, lead time guide current, we're going to try and get that up to the top, so that's the first thing you see, because that is our #1 download. So we're really looking at analytics, over the last year or so of what people are actually downloading out of the old library, and we're trying to fine-tune the content and the search functionality to make sure those documents get kind of a preference. So when you click on something, the more common downloads will show up first. And the same thing if I were to click on something like photography and images. Right now you're not seeing our #1 content, but eventually that'll be our latest and greatest photos, and we'll have different filters here as well. They'll be there so you can filter that down. So the asset type should have been checked. They should have been checked as photos, so I'm only seeing photos. I don't know what happened there. I made some changes yesterday, and it looks like I made the wrong ones. But I can go in here and I can go back to Fern if I want to pick on Fern a little bit. So now I'm getting Fern photos. supposed to be good for quotes. Again, I made changes yesterday. Probably shouldn't have done that before our presentation. Sorry. I'm going to go back. This is kind of the idea behind the shortcut. So if I click on price books, the number one price books would show up first. This next section is just documents, or, you know, still kind of being fleshed out exactly what goes there, but it's just, you know, if you want to get the business fingerprint, you would click on there and you'd go right to that asset. So not everything is going to make you do a full-fledged sort or search. There'll be little shortcuts along the way. So new photography, this section is going to be highlighted photography, like for the new Mari brochure, you would click, or not the brochure, the new Mari launch, you would go in there and this would be pre-selected images that feature the Mari product. And from this view, you can actually download. I can select them all for downloads and then do the download in the standard recommended size, which is a JPEG, or if you're doing professional printing or something, you can get the original full-size images. And that's kind of using the next functionality called binders. So what I just showed you with the Mari photos was actually a binder. But with this library, you'll be able to create your own binder. If you just click on binder, and I can say new demo binder, and I can put a description of there, my favorite things. And so now I have a binder. So if I go, I'm going to just do another search, and I'm going to say Mari. Just doing a broad Mari search, so I'm going to get all kinds of things. But if I want to add this photo, the Mari wood-based tool, to my binder, I would click on my binder, and I can pick which one, and I have my new demo binder, and I can say add and close. So now if I go back to my home page, I have binder I just created. It looks like I have too many, so I'm going to have to go to my show all binders. And I have my new demo binder with that Mari chair. I can download the contents from here. I can share this binder with somebody. If I do that, I can copy this to the clipboard, and I can email it to a client or another library user. Anybody that gets this link will be able to see the content of your binder.
Even if it's not a library user?
Correct.
Okay.
And as I go down the page a little further, so there'll be a special little, this section will change over time as whatever is important at the time, but additional resources, so curated selection of additional resources for Mari, Kibana, Cultivate. These are just kind of examples for right now. You click on those and you get the documents, the assets. And the last one under Dealer Connect, kind of still trying to think of exactly how we want to do this, whether it's just a month and you can say, okay, I want to download videos, PowerPoints, or PDFs, or get everything, or perhaps have, like September 2019, a brief description of what's in that Dealer Connect, and then download all the assets. So if you click on there, this probably isn't going to be right, but it really kind of bring up a binder of all the assets that were added that month. So that's pretty much the tour through the home page. Any questions on the home page before I move forward?
This is Jill at Area. I have two quick questions. My first question, if we add a document to a binder and that document is later updated, does that link, or does the older version stay in the binder?
It will be updated to the new version automatically.
Okay, so the binder will be linked. Okay, awesome. And then when you're just browsing through, like let's say you find an image you want, what does the pop-up look like when you click on either the image or any sort of asset that comes in through your search?
Okay, so let's do that next. Let's go back to my Fern brochure. So unlike in the past, where you had to go into the detail page to be able to download something, you can download right from this view and get the standard JPEG version. Well, if it's a PDF, you'll get the real PDF. But if it's,
Okay.
I guess I got all brochures here, but if this, you know, some of our photography is high resolution TIFF files, and chances are that's not what you're going to use every day. So by default, if you use this download, it's going to download the JPEG version of that asset. If you need to get the high-res one, you'll have to go to the detail page, which I'll show you in a little bit. But the next button over is a share. So if I want to share this asset with somebody, I can click on here, get a link, I can copy that to my clipboard and send it off in a mail to somebody, email. I can add it to my binder, which we saw.
I also have a question about, I have a question about binders. This is Sue Ann with Hayworth in San Diego. I have a lot of designers ask for just a GSA binder or GSA product. Is there a way that you can drill down to just GSA products and create a binder that way?
Yes. I mean, if you want to create your own binder, you can certainly do that. That would be something we may want to do.
I mean, we have price lists for all the GSA product. I don't know how you could.
We have a
Were you
price
looking-
list. So currently we're using the price list, and then the showroom managers are pulling all the brochures from that price list to create a binder.
So you'd want a binder of the GSA brochures and product sheets maybe?
Correct. Those products that are approved on GSA, because there's some products not approved on GSA.
Right. Things like hops that are manufactured in China, they're not on GSA. And we could certainly look at that if that's a need, or, I mean, if that's something that's just a need for your group, it might be better just to create that binder and make it available to more people.
But it'd probably be important to DC areas and certain areas that do a lot of GSA, probably Huntsville, Alabama. There's quite a few markets.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly look at that if that's something that's a need out there, sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to point out. So, Ann, this is Isadora. We'll take that as a follow-up item. It may be something that, especially with our analytics, as we grow into this through launch, maybe it's not something we launch immediately with, but we make sure that we have it as something that releases closely thereafter.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
This is Jill again from Area. Kind of stemming off of that, I know you showed us how we can share a binder. Does that allow, if we share it with someone that has access to the library in full, so someone else at our dealership, can they then edit and add to that binder? Like, can we have multiple kind of users on a binder?
Not at this point. That's come up as an enhancement request a few times.
Okay.
Now, no, I'm afraid not.
Yeah, because from like a dealership standpoint, that would be super helpful if we would be able to kind of create binders that everyone in our dealership could kind of access, or even across the dealer market.
Yeah, because if you have two salespeople working on the same project and you had a binder for a customer,
so multiple people can
Yeah,
certainly
sales and
access
design.
editing the,
editing.
Trying to limit it to a certain dealership.
only the creator can edit the binder,
One editor. Okay.
but everybody can share it.
Okay, so the last icon here is to add something to a cart. And people often ask what's the difference between a cart and a binder. My answer is that a binder is more permanent. I don't want permanent, but you can delete a binder, but it's more for long-term storage, whereas a cart is for, I'm quickly want to download these 3 things. I could click on the cart for these 3 things, and then I could go to my cart up at the top, and I had other things in there, but then I can just download the whole cart. The idea here is when I'm all done, I would just clear my cart, and it would be empty. Where a binder would be something you want to save for later. You know, if you have your favorite GSA price books, you could put them in your binder and go back to that binder as many times as you want, where the cart you would probably consistently clear out when you're done with it.
So Jim, I think one of the questions was when you download a high-res photo, what are the options that you have? So if we pulled up, let's say, the latest Cultivate photograph, what would that look like on the inside?
I'm going to do Cultivate, and then I'm going to say asset type to be a photo. So there'd be my Cultivate photos. So if I want to get to the high-res version, I would click on the thumbnail, and that's going to bring me up to a detail page. There's a lot of information on this detail page that's there basically for testing right now. So this page will be a little cleaner when we get done. But here, when I click the download, it's going to give me 2 options. The standard recommended, which is the JPEG, and the original high-res, whatever the highest quality image that we have would be available there. And that's also available in the shopping cart. But I would warn you, if you're downloading a lot of high-res photography in the shopping cart, that's going to take a while because those are some pretty big images.
Did that answer your question? I want to make sure we got you the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, that's great. I was super excited to see the published date and the last updated date too, because that's very helpful to see.
Okay, good to know. Those I would expect to stay up there. The description would be stay up there for sure.
Yeah, that's not Cultivate table of X series storage, just X series storage. That image.
Yep. We're working through that. So, yeah, the other thing too is the sizes. If I want to download a binder, so I'm going to go into just a binder here. Now I only have one thing in this binder, so it's not quite as much fun, but I can select individual assets to download, and then when I do, I still have those selections of standard or original. If it is like a PDF or a video or anything that's not a photo, it's just going to download the regular size no matter what you select, because there's not multiple versions of that. But that really is the full tour of the library. I guess one other thing I could point out is up on the left here is going to be if you ever want to go to the European Library or the Asia Pacific Library, you would do that here. When we launch this library, these 2 probably won't be available yet, but when they are, that's where you would do that. And if you don't like English, you could even change the language, but North America is all English. So, and if you click remember there, when you first log in, it's going to prompt you to select a region and a language. If you remember it, that's the last time you have to deal with that, unless you want to switch. So I'll open it up to any other questions.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. This is Jen Roberts calling from Boston. If you have a file that's in a binder, if that file, if the original file is updated, I assume the copy in the binder gets updated automatically too?
Correct.
Okay, great. And
binder is just a shortcut to the actual file.
Okay, good. So that's a benefit, definitely. And can you show us, I might have missed this, but just what it looks like when you're searching for a file, you're not positive whether that's the one that you want. So before you download it, you want to open it up?
There's not really a preview, so I think what you're asking if I did like the fern. You know, if I click on the thumbnail here, all I'm really going to be able to see is the cover of it.
But
Today,
you,
with the
you can't
library-
open that file in
Well,
there?
yeah, I mean, it opens, but it technically is a download when you're opening it. Should open.
So is that similar to what the library does today?
Yes. Yes.
So you don't have to keep that download, you can just close it, if you don't want to save it?
No, you don't have to save it.
Okay.
It's just not
Because
called-
sometimes you don't, you often don't know for sure. If you're looking for something easy like a brochure, that's one thing. But if you're not sure whether it's a file you really want to download, you want to be able to open it first before you download it.
Yeah, so you'd like some sort of a preview, so you could kind of scroll through the pages before you actually download.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that today in the library, right?
Well, it's the same functionality. So you click on, it's just called the download button, but it's really just opening up the PDF the same way it does on the library today. Technically, that's
happens-
down, so you
Yeah.
might be just getting mixed up.
But if you want to actually download it to your computer, then what?
Then you would just kind of do the save up here.
So what you're doing right now is it's basically trying to open that file?
Yes.
Okay. And then what happens when it does open? Then you have to, if you did want to save
Yeah.
it, you
It's just a little
it's not
download
actually
button.
downloading it now, right?
Correct.
It's not actually downloading it to your computer now, correct? Or is it?
Technically, yes. Is it downloading to your computer?
It's probably your download folder, right?
Well, I think it's actually probably saving it in temporary items
Yeah.
as opposed to your downloads folder. So yes, in order to render the appropriate image, it is in theory downloading it. But you're probably not keeping it in a folder that you would access or until you actually click the Save As button in the upper right-hand corner.
Yeah, there's the download
Is there
button.
any way, can that be changed? Because if it's a really big file that you were opening, it turns out when you looked at it, it wasn't a file you really wanted to download, then in order to get rid of it, you'd have to physically delete it afterwards. Like if, you got to this point and you said, oh, this isn't the one I wanted.
Right, then you just close it down.
So I wonder if it's a semantics thing, because typically when you download something, it's ending up on your computer.
Right.
So honestly, to download it to your computer, it takes 2 steps.
Right, it's like an
Yeah.
open, and then there's a download,
Right.
save as.
So is that going to be confusing? I think she may be saying that that's confusing, that you're not.
Well, I'm saying if you didn't really want that file, if it's a big file, you've just downloaded a big file onto your computer that you don't need once you've opened it.
But I don't think you have. I think.
So once you open it, it just opens up a new tab, basically, and then if you decide you want to download it, then you do another step, and then it saves to your computer.
Okay, so it didn't actually download it onto my.
Correct.
It
Correct.
wouldn't have. Okay, that's good. Thanks.
I've got a note to do FAQs, we can put
Yeah.
an FAQ.
I think that's confusing.
This is Jill again. I think this is only applicable though, you guys, for PDF type format. So if this was a video or something, I think it would automatically just download to your computer, or even in Excel. I know there's some personal computer settings you can do so that when you do click on things like download a PDF, you can set it so that it either opens in a new window to then further download to your desktop, or you can do settings where if you hit that download, it just immediately downloads onto your computer. But I know from using the library, whenever I download a PDF, it just opens in a new window, but that's not the same for if I'm downloading an MP4 type file or something like that. And then kind of on a sidebar from that, I'm wondering if to kind of eliminate someone downloading something to try to then have to open it and guess what it says. Like a brochure is pretty obvious, but if there's some other sort of document on there, maybe a brief description on this pop-up page amongst the asset type, size, this ID thing, the file name. If there was a spot right there or above that where you could just give like a 1 or 2 sentence description for some of these.
Okay.
feedback.
This is Brianna with Cultura in San Diego, and I have a question.
Sure.
Is this still going to be the same type of library in that install instructions are on here, ergo adjustment videos, all the stuff that our project managers and client services specialists need to share with clients or our install teams? Is that all going to be here, and you guys are just
Yes.
focusing on photos and brochures right now? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
can you just do a search for adjustment video real quick? Just to give you an idea. The search is a little bit more friendly, but in addition, they're filtering things on the left that will allow you to drill into. So if there's something you're not seeing, you can get to it by perusing more of the asset type. But you can see all of the video assets just popped up with a better search functionality that's been integrated into this system.
Yeah. Yeah, between that and install drawings and all, all the other stuff that the marketing people don't necessarily use, but we need. So that's good to know. Thank you.
A couple other things I guess I should point out is, one, this is more mobile friendly than the existing library. Technically, you could open the library on your phone, but I wouldn't recommend it. But I don't know if it shows up on WebEx right, but if I squish down my screen, the content will adjust, and it will work on your phone. The other thing that I find that's kind of handy, that's different than the existing library, is the URL changes as you do things. So if I were to search on Zodi, the URL that's up at the top is actually a link directly to that search result. So if I wanted to even bookmark that or send it to a friend or whatever, they would be able to use that same link and get to that same set of search results. Same thing when you get down into the asset page. I can grab that URL and it's actually a link to that asset page. I don't know if that'll be helpful for you at all, but I find it kind of useful.
Is that, so if we send that link, it has to be somebody that has a Hayworth Library login, is that correct?
That link, yes.
Okay.
But binders and individual assets, they do not need a login.
Okay, thank you.
So team, thinking about launch, what are you kind of thinking about as far as how you're going to go about ensuring that people have visibility to it and understand how to leverage it? Has there been any consideration thus far as to what we're going to put out there on Dealer Connect or on the voice and different things like that?
That's next. That's what we want. That's kind of where we wanted to drive a little bit of the questions. Those are great questions, Sue Ann, Jill, Jen, Brianna. Thank you guys for joining us too. Just so from our team, rather than kind of, and I've been taking notes as you've been talking, but rather than guess what we know is different, we want to know before we kind of develop that out and what we're going to share when. I have definitely that we probably should create an FAQs document, because that's kind of a no-brainer to me that would solve a lot of some of the questions that are coming up that are maybe onesie-twosie. But, I mean, what, if you could really boil it down to the three things that are the most important that you've seen that you would want your teams to know. So how would you communicate it to your teams? I think this is a good way for us to collaborate together as, collective, the subject matter experts and the audiences on what's the best way to get that across to help ensure a nice, smooth transition from the current library to the new. So from there, that can help, to your point, Eric, drive the, kind of how we approach Dealer Connect, how we approach voice, how we approach email, to make sure that we're sharing the right information the right way.
Well, I would say one of the kind of themes could be that to ensure people that the content from before is content going further, it's still the same content. It's just been packaged in a way that's light years faster and more efficient to leverage it. So, because one of the things that I noticed is that it's gorgeous the way that it lays out on the front page, But in the old library, it was, while an eye chart, it still gave visual cues as to what was in there.
Yeah, and I think to that point too, I mean, I definitely have in my notes, one of the key messages is, it is not only the same content, it's just taking and using, Jim hit it, analytics. So it's, you know, we've got analytics on what's being downloaded, and we can say, hey, you know, we've, not for everybody, but for the most commonly used things, we've pulled those right up to the top by shortcut. You know, from our team's perspective, the field dealer communications team's perspective, you know, we heard both from like Jill and Brianna on the marketing best practices team and other groups, you know, make it easier to find the Dealer Connect assets. So while those aren't in the shortcuts, they're still on the home page. So I think that's a key thing, is tying the fact that it's still the same content, we've just made it easier and quicker to get to. So that's a definite, I would agree with that one. I mean, Brianna and Jill, especially from you guys' standpoint, from the dealer standpoint, and if Chelsea's on too, if you were to have to go communicate what's different and the change and the benefit to your teams, what's the one thing you would grab onto here?
I think, this is Jill, I would grab on, I think the binder is the biggest difference from this library, not aesthetically speaking. Functionally speaking, I think the binder is the biggest thing that I think people are going to be really excited about. Also, to Brianna's point, I think the majority of people at area who are accessing the library, aside from myself, I'm really the only one going for the brand and the marketing collateral and the templates and the invites and stuff, but I think there's multiple people at area that are going for price lists, contracts, install docs, that type of thing. So even as something as little and silly as updating some of these icons on the cover page to indicate those types of things, like install documents, I think would grab a lot of people's attention. And I'm sure over time with your analytics and stuff, you guys will see what actually is, you know, that may just be for our two dealerships. But I think the binder is going to be the biggest thing that people are going to be excited about. It's still, I think the majority of people here still go to the existing library and just immediately use the search function, because that's just the easiest way to find what they're looking for. Because of the way it's designed right now, there's just so many different groups that I don't even know where to go to find certain things going that route. So I just type in what I'm looking for and I can find it. So I think just giving a quick overview of how that search function has been enhanced is going to be cool as well. But in terms of kind of like showing it, it would be cool if you guys could do like a quick video or something of someone scrolling through and searching for certain types of documents, and even maybe creating a binder.
Absolutely. I think a lot of those little things would be great to do.
Yeah, you guys haven't seen it yet, but we just did for final phase of brand. It's a voiceover, Isadora doing a voiceover with a demonstration of the tool that we're talking about with no B-roll and stuff like that. So this could be the same type of thing. It's a voiceover of what you're seeing with just a Snagit video that we can easily not only show maybe in a Dealer Connect, but we can also store as a resource in voice, or use that when we kick off via email too.
This is Brianna with Filter again. I agree with what Jill said, and I did a survey of our group prior to this call as to what they searched the library for, and it's price lists, install instructions, stuff for warranty as far as like the E-part, trying to figure out which part and all that kind of stuff. Marketing's a smaller piece. Sales doesn't really get in here for the photos and stuff, and most of our people actually go to the main Hayworth webpage because at the time, or currently, it's easier to search there. But now that you guys have the search feature going on this with all the tags and all the things, hopefully that'll make it easier where people can find faster what they want. I do like the shortcuts, and I like the second tier down. So besides the icons, the next level down, I like that too. I think you guys are moving in the right direction with this and keeping the current stuff. But I think for us, the search feature and having that user-friendly and fast is going to be the best thing for us. Binders, maybe. we have My Resource Library currently and don't make that many binders. That's not really how we share stuff. But if this tool is easy, maybe that's how we're going to do it now. So anyway, I think it's great. And thank you for putting time and effort into updating this.
Yeah, I see the binders for our dealership as Jill creating price list binders so that they can just go to one place and find the price list for those binders. So I can see people at dealerships kind of creating binders that they share across the board for their dealership versus maybe sending them out to the clients and stuff. Because we're the same as Brianna just said. We have My Resource Library and we really don't utilize the binders at all. But I do know of other dealers who use the heck out of it. So I think it is just kind of like a dealer by dealer. But from a marketing standpoint, I love this new photography section because I'm constantly going to the library and trying to figure out what are the newest images. And I think this is going to make it so much easier to find those. So I'm really excited you guys did that.
Can you guys hear me? It's Chelsea with King. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't have a specific code, so I wasn't sure. Yeah, I do agree with everybody. I think the biggest complaint that I get is they can never find what they're looking for, and I think they just there's too much that they get, too much different types of collateral. So I think not having to have the exact name, X series with a space or whatnot, that's going to make the world of a difference in terms of them being able to quickly find something. I also agree we do have MRL. We don't really use binders, but if we were to, MRL has a lot more functionality. So I think, there's an advantage on the MRL side for some of the functionality. But if you're looking at, I see this library as growing into like an internal communication tool for dealers. Like I have access to it, so does our marketing, so does our design. If people are constantly like, I need a picture of this, or where can I find this? And so I have to download it and then email it. And not only does that download, but it also is a large file in my email. So being able to send that to someone else that also has a login within there would be a really cool. I mean, I could see that being a somewhat of a binder function, but being able to send it to someone internally that can go right to it or not have to explain what you did to get there. But other than that, I just hope people start to use this because storing it on our local stuff is huge and out of date.
All right.
I think anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, what are the top three things that you can really tell people are different? The binders, the search, and then sort of we're going to give you links to what's new.
Right. Yeah, it seems to me like they're all pretty much saying the same thing. I've got some good notes, so I think I've got from our perspective what we need. Certainly appreciate it. It's a different approach. We haven't necessarily done this where we've asked you first what would help you to be communicated with, so we appreciate you being guinea pigs.
I always think it's nice to say what wasn't working and how you solved it. I mean, what were your 3 or 4 biggest complaints or issues or, things like that, and then how'd you solve them? And then what the benefits are, like the top 3. For sure, speed. And just more visually, I think easier to guide your way through and know where you're going.
I think you'll find it more reliable as well.
Yeah.
Library's been known to have its issues, but.
Right?
Yep.
Well, anybody else have any other questions or feedback?
Yeah, I missed a little bit in the beginning and got a little distraction in the middle, so I may have missed this, but I think something else that in photography and images that we would help filter that next step is sometimes you want a picture with a white background, and sometimes you want a picture with an environment. And if you're looking for a firm, I sometimes have to go to page 3 or 4 because I want just a chair with no background. So that might be a nice filter to apply in photos for our marketing department and our design department.
That actually is there. It is there when you go
Awesome.
to photos. If you choose white sweep, that will give you just something on a white background. So we did add that in
Awesome.
there, having
Cool.
that filter.
That's something definitely to point out. Oh, very cool.
Right, any other feedback? Sue-Ann, Eric, Jen from the field side?
I'm sending you some notes, Andy.
Thank you.
I have one more question. This is Jill. Sorry, I can't help myself. When's it launching?
Why we asked you, Bill? Go ahead.
When's it launching?
That's a great question.
Soon.
Great question.
We're, I would say that we're cleaning up some of the data in the back end, polishing some of the front end features, like Jim's, working every day to try and tweak some of these little things to get it across the finish line. But our goal is to launch it in the next few weeks in time for the dealer summit. So we don't want to put it out there until it's ready, but it should be ready soon.
Great.
Awesome.
All right, any other questions? Well,
Thank
you
you.
guys for your
Looks
time.
great.
Appreciated. We will, you'll start to see communications probably right around dealer summit and on from there. And just like this is living and breathing, that's kind of the intent there too. If we're finding there's common questions, like I said, I definitely have in mind, we'll create an FAQ document with some of the questions that came here. And then if you think of other things along the way, I'd like that to be a living and breathing document that we just keep out there. It'll hopefully won't be, it's not it's not something that people are unfamiliar with. So I think that'll help us a little bit. And like your point, Chelsea, of what are the things that were pain points before that we've solved here, I think that's a good way to start. So thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.